All right, I want to start today's class by reviewing the centroid again. The intersection of the medians. So I'm going to do the same activity we did in class on Tuesday, but there's going to be a little problem at the end of this activity. I'm going to have 3 different groups. All 3 groups are going to find 3 midpoints for me. All right, the midpoints of each of these sides. So I'm going to start out with the first group is going to find the midpoint of BC for me. And you guys are going to call that point D. That's anybody whose last name is A through I. You're going to find the midpoint of BC for me so I can draw that median in. Group 2 is going to find the midpoint of AB for me. And you're going to call that point E. And that's anybody last names J through R. J through R. Find the midpoint of AB. You guys got the easier one, so don't screw it up. And then final group, last names S through Z. You guys have the midpoint of AC. And you're going to call that point F, all right? Same thing we did on Tuesday. We're going to find the midpoint so we can draw in the median. And then we're going to figure out where they all intersect and call that the centroid. But we may have an issue here at the end. And I'm not going to wait too long here, but I'm hoping by now we know how to find the midpoint. And these are, look at it, it's got zeros in it. So adding these X's and Y's shouldn't be a big deal, and dividing it by 2 should not be a big deal. And I'm just going to need someone from each group, a couple people from each group, just to chime in to let me know what you got. And remember, if it wasn't your responsibility, it should still be written down, please. Should still be written down. All right, first group. What was the midpoint of BC? And yes, it is okay to have decimals here. What was the midpoint of BC? Anybody want to chime in there? Last names A through I. What's your midpoint? Not the start I was hoping for. Anybody? BC midpoint. There's 26 of you in this class. I know there's a ton of A through I's.
I got the square root of 85, but I haven't.
Whoa. We doing midpoint or we doing distance here? We're doing midpoints here.
Never mind.
One job. We're doing midpoints. Anybody, midpoint of BC?
3.53.
Thank you. 3.53. Everyone make sure you jot it down. And let's go over and graph it now. Do your best. Oh, 3.5. Is he 3.5? Yeah, do your best. All right. 3.5 over 3.5 up 3. 1, 2, 3.5 up 3. Call that sucker point D. If you have a straight edge, fine. If not, do your best impression of a straight edge and graph median AD, please. Draw in median AD. Medians go to midpoint. All right, 1 down. Oh, that was painful. 2 to go. All right, you can't screw this one up. Midpoint of AB. What do you got, kids? Midpoint of AB.
1, 0.
There we go. 1, 0. Come on now. It's right there. 1, 0. Call it point F. Draw in median CF, please. Draw in median CF. Medians go to midpoints. And we got one more here, kids. You guys at the end of the alphabet there. Midpoint of AC. Nothing.
-2. -2.53.
Hey, negative 2.53. Got it. Everyone write it down and go over and graph it for me. Negative 2.5, up 3. Do your best. Don't complain. Do your best. Call that point. I just called the wrong point. That's point F. I got to make that point E. There we go. That's point E. And yep, go ahead, draw in median BF. Yes. And as we know, guys, right? All three of those medians are intersecting at the same spot, which we knew would have happened. That spot's called the centroid. Anybody want to tell me what that coordinate is? Oh, silence, huh? Is there a problem telling me what that coordinate is? It's tough, isn't it? Are you going to say, is it a half? Is it 3/4? Because it's certainly not 1 on the x-axis. I don't know. What is it, a half? 3/4? I don't know. And you know what? We're not going to guess either what it is. Okay? Maybe on the y-axis, you could confidently tell me it's 2 on the y-axis. Agreed? 2 on the y-axis. But you cannot confidently tell me what the x-coordinate is. So what I'm going to show you today is algebraically, how can I find this point? Because graphing didn't work for me. I have no idea what the x-coordinate is graphing it. So I'm going to show you algebraically today how to do it with a method called partitioning. I don't know if that's in your vocabulary wheelhouse, partitioning. All right, but all we're going to do with partitions is break a segment up into congruent parts. How many congruent parts? Depends on what we need. Okay, but we're going to use a method called partitioning today, not only to find the centroid, but to find some other points as well by breaking a segment into a certain amount of congruent parts. All right? So let's do it for this example here. Let's actually find what the centroid is algebraically. Reminder, somebody remind me, the centroid divides the median up into a ratio of what? I almost went period 1 on you there. Quincy, median centroid breaks it up into a ratio of?
2 to 1.
2 to 1. All right? 2 to 1, which means 2 equal pieces to one side, 1 equal piece to the other side. That's what the median is telling us. You got 2 pieces to one side, 1 equal piece to the other side. Meaning, the centroid, we're going to break the median up into, if it's 2 to one side and 1 to the other side, we're going to break it up into 3 equal pieces. All right, 3 equal pieces we're going to break the median up into. Let me show you why. Let me show you a visual. You don't need to write this down, but you may want to take a peek at this. There's my median. I know it's not horizontal on the diagram, but it's the easiest way to show you guys. Here's my median. I'm going to break the median up into 3 equal pieces. All right? This point right here has 1 equal piece to the left, 2 to the right. So that's the point that would break it up into 1 to 2. This point has how many to the left? 2 equal pieces to the left, 1 to the right. That's the point I want to try to find right now, is that point right there. And the way I'm going to do it is we're going to break up the median into 3 equal pieces. I've made the decision already. We're going to take median AD and break it up. Okay, we're going to take median AD and just make sure we know we just found point D to be 3.53. All right, let's break this median up into 3 equal pieces so we can find what that 2 to 1 point would be. Here's how we're going to do it. We are going to treat the x-axis and the y-axis separately, everybody. We're going to treat the x-axis and the y-axis separately. So everyone take point A and D right now. That's where your focus is, point A and D. does everybody see the two x coordinates on A and D? -5 and 3.5. What is the distance between the two? And you don't need distance formula. Think of yourself on the x-axis. If you're at -5 on the x-axis, and I ask you to go all the way over to 3.5, how many total units are you going? All right, so on the x-axis, you're going from -5 to 3.5. How many total units are you going? Here we go. Lucas, how many total units am I going? -5 to 3.5. Don't think I see him on here, so we'll keep rolling. I'm just cut my steam off there. Audrey, here we go. How many units from -5 to 3.5 on the x-axis?
8.5.
8.5 units. Everyone agrees? All right, 8.5 units. So my line segment over here is 8.5 units long. And we just said we're going to try to break it up into 3 equal pieces. So I'm going to take that distance Audrey just gave us, 8.5, and I'm going to divide it by 3. Because I'm trying to cut this distance into 3 equal parts. And yes, you're going to need your calculator, and yes, we're going to get more decimals. And you end up getting all around about 2.83. So each of the 3 equal pieces is going to have a length of 2.83. So if I went back to my visual here, ready? 2.83 units long, 2.83 units long, 2.83 units long. All right? But remember the point we're trying to get to right here, that 2 to 1 point. So how many total units do I need to go over? It's not 2.83. Can you find how many total units I need to move on the x-axis to get to that 2 to 1 point? You know it's 2.83 every time. Can somebody find me how many total units you go to get to that 2 to 1 point? Ooh. 23. Here we go, Luke. How many total units do you have to move to get to that point?
Is it 8.5?
8.5. How are you getting 8.5?
Wait, what's the question?
Okay. Every time I move, to break this up, I got to go 2.83 units every time. And I'm trying to get to this point right here that breaks it up into 2 to 1. So I'm looking for what's the distance to get there?
5.6.
And then how'd you do that, Luke?
I multiplied 2.83 times 2.
Yeah, so 2.83, got to do that twice, everybody, right? Got to do that twice. So that's what Luke did. He did 2.83 times 2. And he ended up with, what was it again, Luke?
5.6.
5.6, everyone, right? 5.6 units. There's a little more than that, right? 2.83 times 2. Where's 5 point?
Why is it multiplied by 2 instead of 1? Because if you're going from the D point to the centroid, it would be.
Look, ready? You see my point I got to get to right here, right? Here's where I started at this point right here. So I got to go 2.83 plus another 2.83. So that's why I'm multiplying 2.83 times 2. Yes? No?
I'm not entirely sure I understand, but I can still do it. It's just
from your starting point. I remember I'm breaking this total line segment is 8.5 units long on the x-axis. To get from -5 to 3.5 is 8.5 units long. I need to break it up into 3 equal pieces. So the only way I do that is if each piece is 2.83 units long. And to get to my 2 to 1 point, my centroid, not only am I going to go 2.83, I got to go another 2.83 to get there.
And that's coming from the vertex, so from point A.
Correct. That's my starting point. And I'm only in the middle of this. I'm still back at this 5 point. It's not 5.6, is it?
5.66.
5.66. Okay. So I know I got to travel 5.66. From where? Where did I start all this on the x-axis? Where did I start on the x-axis, everybody? On fire. 4. Gideon, where did I start on the x-axis?
-5.
So from -5, I need to go 5.66 units. So I'm just going to add -5 to it. From -5, I need to go 5.66 units to the right. And where do I end up? On the x-axis at 0.66. And if you look at your graph right now, that looks pretty good. 0.66 on the x-axis where the centroid was. I'm going to do the same thing for y, but a little quicker. So ask any questions you right now how we got. You find the total distance, divide by what you need to break it up into. And then the hardest part is, how many times am I going that distance? Once, twice? In this case, it's twice because I got to get to 2 to 1. Anything before we get to the y coordinate? All right, let's do the y coordinate now. Same procedure. For the y coordinate, first step, what is the distance between the y coordinates? From A to D, what is the distance between the y coordinates? From A to D, what's the distance? Radhika, what's my distance from the y coordinates now?
3.
3 units, everyone agrees? From 0 to 3, you go 3 units. So now, and this is the last time I'll do visuals here. So now here's your y-axis. And now we're going from 0 to 3 on the y-axis, breaking this up into 3 equal parts again. Okay, so 3 units divided by the 3 equal parts I need to divide it up into. That means you're going to go 1 unit every time to divide it up evenly. 1 unit every time. So 1 unit every time we'll divide it up evenly. Reminder, here's my centroid, my 2 to 1 point. 2 to 1. So can somebody tell me from the start, how many total units do I need to go on the y-axis to get to the 2 to 1 point? How many total units on the y-axis now do I need to travel? Here we go. Atticus, how many total units? To go from the start?
3.
Why? Well, if I go 3 units, I'm all the way back at the end. I'm just trying to get to this 2 to 1 point.
2.
2 units, everyone. How did he get it? He said, oh, I go 1 unit every time, but I got to go twice. So I multiplied by 2. Just like I did in step 4 for the x coordinate. I had to multiply by 2. So I'm going 2 total units. From where did I start on the y-axis now? 2 total units from what starting point on the y-axis? Where did we start on the y-axis? Hayden, where did we start on the y-axis?
0.
0. So starting from 0, go up 2, and we end up at 2, which is exactly what our graph confirms, that we're at 2 on the y-axis. So our centroid, even though we couldn't see it on the graph, we could do it using partitions, and it's going to be 0.662. There it is, 0.662. Find the distance between the coordinates. Break it up into however many equal pieces you need. Figure out how many times you have to go that distance from your starting point. Anything here? Because what I'm going to do now is move away from centroid, but I'm going to give you different ratios now. So it might not be 2 to 1. It's going to be a different ratio. I want you to find that point. Any questions here? Please, please ask. Okay. Hopefully your confidence builds as we do more and more of these now. So I'm giving you guys points A and B, but now look at my ratio. Can you guys partition this into a ratio of 2 to 3? Okay, 2 to 3. So 2 parts congruent on one side, 3 parts congruent on the other side. 2 to 3. First thing to ask yourself, how many total parts do I need? How many total congruent parts do I need if I'm going to break it up into 2 on one side, 3 on the other? How many total congruent parts am I going to break it up into? 24. Emily, how many total congruent parts?
5.
Yeah, 5. 2 to the left, 3 to the right. We're going to break this up into 5 congruent parts total. Let's do it for the x coordinate first. Okay, let's do it for the x coordinate. So -3 to 2. Everyone think about the x-axis. How many total units are you going? -3 to 2. What is that distance on the x-axis we're moving? Here we go. Gideon, what's that distance on the x-axis? From -3 to 2.
5.
5 units, everyone, right? Total distance of 5. And we need to break it up into equal parts of 5. So that tells me every time we break it up, we're going 1 unit. Every time we break it up, we're going 1 unit. Well, if I'm going to hit the 2 to 3 point, and I should probably do one more visual here. Let's see if I can do this decently here. Break it up into 5 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not bad, right? Not bad. And we just said each one is 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 unit. All right, can you guys figure out of all these points I have up here, which one's the 2 to 3 point? 2 to the left, 3 to the right. 2 to the left, 3 to the right. That would be this point right there. Right? 2 to the left, 3 to the right. So I'm not going to just travel 1 unit. How many total units do I need to travel to get to that point on the x-axis? Here we go. Sophia, what's my total distance to get to that point? Not 1, but 2, right? And again, guys, this is how you can figure it out. Take what you just found, 1, multiply it by whatever that first number in the ratio is. That'll tell you every time what you need, how many times you need to go. All right, so 1 times 2 tells me 2 total units from what starting point? Where did we start with on the x-axis? I'm going to try to pick it up a little now. Woo. Quincy, where did we start on the x-axis? What coordinate? On the x-axis, where did we start? What was the starting x coordinate?
I'm not really sure. I'm kind of lost.
Okay, we're going from A to B, right?
Yeah.
What's the x coordinate on A? Because that's the starting point. What's the x?
Oh, it's -5.
Where'd you get -5?
Oh, are we? I don't know. I'm kind of lost because I lost my packet, and I'm trying to figure out where we are on the.
Okay, I don't know. I believe we're on page 13. All right. So you get yourself together there. Here we go. 23. Here we go. Luke, back to you. What x coordinate did we start at?
-3.
Okay, so from -3, I'm going to go 2, right? So 2 plus -3 where I started from, you're going to end up at -1 on the x-axis, everyone. -1. Everyone with me? So there, go ahead.
Would you be able to reverse the process and do it like, I don't know why you would do it, but I'm just saying, could you multiply that one number by 3 if it started with
If you're going to
between A and B, regardless of which one you start.
if you're going to do it that way, Sophia, if you're going to use the 3 instead of the 2 in the ratio, you got to start with B and go towards A. Do you see what I mean?
I think so. I think I'll just stick with the way we did it now, but I just wasn't sure.
If you want to use the 3 part, that means you're going from B to A. That's why I always use the first number, because we're going from A to B. Okay? All right, what about the y coordinate now? All right, everyone help me out. Look at the two y coordinates. What's the distance between them on the y-axis? -4 to 0. What's the distance? Whew. Luke, on fire, let's roll. What's the distance between the y coordinates, Luke? 4, right? And I got to cut that up into 5 equal pieces. So each piece will have a length of, you guys go to your calculator, each piece will have a length of 0.8 units. Okay, each piece is 0.8, but I need to get to 2 pieces, right? 2 on the left, 3 on the right. So I take my 0.8, still multiply it by 2, because I'm going to have to go twice, just like I did for the x coordinate. And I'll be at 1.6. So everyone knows I got to go 1.6 units from what starting y coordinate? 1.6 units from what y coordinate did I start at? Radhika, back to you. What y coordinate did I start at?
-4.
So 1.6 plus -4. So everyone from -4 go up 1.6 units. And you should find that your new y coordinate will be -2.4. All right, so my partition point, the point that breaks line segment AB into 2 congruent on the left, 3 congruent on the right, is -1, -2.4. All good? And please make sure, everyone always asks about, how can I check if this is right or wrong? Your x coordinate should be in between the 2 x coordinates at the beginning of the problem. Your y coordinate at the end should be in between the 2 y coordinates in the problem. All right, if it's outside, like if I got a y coordinate of 6, I'm in trouble. All right, if I got a y coordinate of -8, I'm in trouble. The x and the y coordinate should be in between the 2 that are given. Okay, I want to at least make sure I get through this next one, so I'm probably not going to ask you guys questions. I'll just do it along with you right now. So now I'm in a ratio of 4 to 1. Partition it in 4 to 1. So again, that's 4 to one side, 1 to the other. So that means, again, 5 congruent parts total. So on the x-axis, I'm going from -2 to 2. So if I think in my head, -2 to 2, that's 4 units total, divided evenly by 5. That means I'm going to go 0.8 every time. How many times are you going to go 0.8 units? Look at the ratio. 4 times on the left, 4 times. So 0.8. Notice now multiplying it by 4. And if my math is wrong, somebody chime in. So I'm going to go 3.2 units total from, everyone look at example 3, from -2. From -2. So that tells me you're going to end up at 1.2 for your x coordinate anyway. I shouldn't have circled that, but for your x. How about your y? You're going to go from 5 to -3. 5 to -3. Aren't I going down 8 from 5 to -3? So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a -8 here instead. Okay, I'm going to put a -8 there from 5 down because I'm going down. So -8 divided by 5. And I'm going to end up with -1.6. And then from there, I take the same approach because I know the bell's going to cut me off here. I'm going to multiply it by 4. And I'm going to add on the starting one, which was 5. I start at 5 on the y-axis. And we end up at -1.4 here. So that's your partition point. 1.2, -1.4. All right? And again, nothing's going to change from homework other than the ratio. All right, other than the ratio. So please show your work. Hop on after school if you have questions, but this is the last topic the quiz will be on. All right, guys? All right, you guys have a good day. Get after it here, please. Get after this tonight. Bring all your questions back tomorrow. Have a good day, guys.